it's also getting activities at the schools themselves. You don't have to go someplace to get involved outdoors. Here you see a project with some kids doing some outdoor gardening. So again, we can get those kinds of experts into our classrooms working with teachers, and we strike a whole host of partnerships in Prince William County. This one is not unusual, by the way. We probably have over 1,500 different partnerships with local businesses, industries, and a whole host of folks throughout the community. All kinds of outdoor activities. That actually is a photograph of one of the activities at the Ed Out Day, where we had an expert with reptiles interacting with kids, but you'll see more about that a little bit later. We also link this to our wellness programs. All school divisions in Virginia, and I suspect most of the school systems in other states around the country, have required wellness programs. Food and nutrition is part of that, and so linking Ed Out, or Education Outdoors, to those wellness programs. And as a goal, it's not just giving them that experience and getting them there, but it's to motivate a love of the outdoors, something beyond just an activity we're going to do today, something that becomes more intrinsic. Might even lead to some activities whereby students then volunteer in environmental projects in their communities and their parks. Now, we culminated this last year when all of this came together with an Ed Out Day. It happened to be June 4th. And in fact, Derek and I were part of a phone conference call just this past week. I'm trying to link into what is going to be our culminating day again for this year. So I'm proud to say we're continuing with this effort. We worked with a local camp, Camp Snyder. It's run by the Boy Scouts in our area, and they became a partner in this and provided that site at no cost to us for that day so that we could have the activities for all of these kids. You see sort of a group photo of all the kids who participated there that day. A pilot. You know, you always want to develop it to be successful. You heard, we have 89 schools and 79,000 kids. There is no way possible in a pilot you're going to get 79,000 kids in 89 schools somewhere to a park on a given day. It just isn't going to happen. But what we did was we looked at what we had. What were the resources? Who were the partners? Where was the location? So what schools were nearby? What schools and at what grade levels were there some things in curriculum that might link to the activities of the volunteers that were going to be at the park that day? So we took a look and said, we can identify a grade level at one of our elementary schools and a grade level at one of our middle schools. And we can provide busing and transportation from those schools to Camp Snyder for that day to participate in those activities. So we had to consider all the different things that would help make this something successful for us. And it worked well. And as you can see, 524 students were out there that day at Camp Snyder. There were 25 different mini sessions going on that kids were rotating through. Some specifically for the elementary kids, some specifically for the middle school kids, some that might have crossed over. We had a host of volunteers. It's more than numerous. We had lots of volunteers to be successful. And at the closing ceremony that day, Meryl, who you heard opening this session today, actually she came out from Washington and she helped induct all the students as junior rangers before the day was over. And what I'm going to do is, because of how we had set this up, I'm going to step down for a minute. I want you to take a look at a little video clip of some of the activities that the kids were involved in.
Come on, mouse.
There.
As the school year draws to a close, many students are gearing up for summer. By taking part in the Ed Out program, Gainesville Middle School and Sully Elementary are learning fun, creative ideas outside. The Wild Woozy was one of the top activities and a favorite for Gainesville Middle School 7th grader Caroline Novak.
You walk across the tightrope, holding onto the rope, and you try to get across without falling into the middle.
7th grader David Wagner enjoyed participating in Ed Out, and especially the Wild Woozy.
The activities we did today were mostly involved with science and math, but it was tied in to outdoorsy stuff.
In this activity, students were blindfolded and forced to use senses other than sight to navigate their way along the road through the forest. The U.S. Forestry Service led the group of students through the woods, overturning logs to see the various creatures who make their homes there, as well as observing the various trees growing in the forest. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service asked students to use their art skills by drawing pictures of ducks. While working on their drawings, students learned about the importance of conservation and various different types of ducks. their habits, and migration patterns. For most students, the highlight of the Ed Out activities was a presentation by reptile winners. Both 4th and 7th grade students were given the chance to meet and learn about various reptiles. Learning about reptiles is part of the 5th grade curriculum, so these 4th graders achieved another goal of Ed Out, gearing up for the upcoming school year. 4th grade teacher Susan Pytel appreciated this. She explained the importance of teaching students about the environment.
They're the ones who are going to have to grow up and take care of the environment.
4th grade teacher Nancy Towns from Honor at Sully Elementary was chosen to participate in the school division's inaugural Ed Out event.
I think the activities have been wonderful. The kids are getting a good mix of the curriculum, things we study throughout the year, and they're also getting outdoors and exercising and having fun.
4th grader Crystal Means enjoyed meeting the reptiles because she loves animals, but she also enjoyed playing Oh Deer, a game created by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service.
There's like one side of where there are like homes and stuff, and water and food. And then the other ones are like the deer, and they have to go and get the food and stuff.
After several rounds of play, the students soon see that the students who are playing the role of the deer cannot always get the food, water, or habit that they need, a scenario that plays out in real life for many different kinds of animals.
It was surprising how many kids had not been outdoors to camp and to fish and to do some of the things that you kind of just take for granted that kids will have done. So it's important that they get out here and appreciate nature.
At the end of the day, the Undersecretary for the United States Department of Agriculture performed the honors of giving the oath for each student to become Junior Forest Rangers.
And give my thanks to the Junior Forest Ranger.
The school division hopes that the Ed Out event will encourage students to seek other outdoor learning opportunities with their family and friends during the summer.
What was nice was that in addition to the Ed Out culminating day, there were some other opportunities that developed through these partnerships. And one of those dialogues was from Guest Services, is it International? Is that what, yes, thank you, Derek. Guest Services International and the National Park Service. When we were on the terrace that day, we've been making some of those contacts, I should say back at the congressional hearing, we made some contacts. And again, at no cost to another one of our schools, we were able to transport a class grade level of students to the mall, and they got a special tour of the Lincoln Memorial. We're providing lunch and so forth, again, at no cost to the school in order to do that. So it worked out real well. Dr. Walts, I'll let you wrap things up.
One final thing I'd like to say about this spin-off activity is the school we selected to be a part of this visit to the Lincoln Memorial and a couple of the other memorials, and also to have lunch, which was provided by that organization. You would think, being 20 miles outside of Washington, D.C., that all those students would have been to those monuments before, because I know, coming from Kansas as an adult, learning about all that stuff in the course of my schooling, I couldn't wait to see all that stuff. You'd be surprised at how many people live close to Washington, D.C. and have never been to see those things. And I would say over 50% of the students that took part in this had never been there before. And I think the chances are very good that that same vending company that provided their lunch and transportation is going to reap the benefits when they bring their parents back to come and see these things in subsequent opportunities. So again, these are some of the reasons that we think Ed Out is important and why Ed Out works, and we want to continue to be a partner. We have our own website, www.edout.us, and it tells all kinds of things that we've talked about today and more. And then these are the next steps that we're looking at. We want to sustain what we started as a pilot, and we want to do whatever we can to help this become something that we can replicate nationally, and that's one of the reasons we agreed to come here today, hopefully to give you a little bit of inspiration and to bring other activities under the Ed Out umbrella. Again, to provide that web-based information across the country and to plan and make sure that we continue to have Ed Out 2011. So, Derek, I know with the technology issues, I don't want to overstate our welcome, so I don't know if there's any time for questions, but there's some links for additional information, and I'll turn it back over to you.
Well, we have time for 2 or 3 questions, and And then we'll be delighted to arrange, one of the things that we do have is that the technology gurus at Prince William Schools can overcome any things that we had here and do a webinar and some other kinds of ways for people to be able to hear more, ask questions, and to learn. But the most important thing is this can be done in every county, every city across the country. To emphasize, we had adjunct faculty coming in from organizations ranging from NASA to National Wildlife Federation to Forest Service. We had lots of people, and they had fun teaching the kids. The county also took the time to teach these adjunct faculty how to relate to 4th graders and 7th graders. So there was really a good transmittal of information. And one of the serendipities is many of these kids went away saying, hey, that's a cool job. That would be really something fun for us to do. And when you're looking at a county that has the diversity that Prince William County has, this is really good for agencies like the Corps, Forest Service, and Park Service to be reaching out to kids and encouraging them to think about the job in the great outdoors. It's fun, and that it's something they can learn about. So, questions? Margaret?
Can you talk a little bit about whether there was or was not a challenge with that kind of curriculum alignment? You talked about you chose 2 grades because those are the ones. Just talk to us about how difficult that was to do or not difficult.
It really isn't all that difficult because if you're partnering with a school division, there are people in that school division that know the curriculum so well that they can pair together what would work with the curriculum and whatever your ideas might be for a partnership. It's not really very difficult.
There's the George Mason University is located in Prince William County, and their outdoor recreation and physical education departments are in that facility, and not too far from Prince William's Fairfax County, where Acres is located. Do you have any plans to partner with either one of those 2 groups?
Yes, in fact, we have numerous partnerships with George Mason University. And is the ropes, I think the
Yes,
ropes,
it is.
you know, they have one of those huge ropes, team building installations out there, and we've done team building both with adults and with students, but we have numerous partnerships. In fact, we even have unique partnerships like with our underwater robotics, which is Sea Perch, and George Mason University. All the underwater robotics in last year's competition was at George Mason's Freedom Center. So yes, and again, those partnerships thrive and they're mutually beneficial.
Just out of the box thinking, Quantico, the Marine Corps base, is also in this county, and the Marine Corps wants to be involved. So I think they're, again, when we start thinking of the potential partners that can be involved to add some sizzle to the learning process and have all those ancillary benefits, tremendous opportunities. Bruce?
Did you have to overcome any obstacles related to insurance liability issues, kids getting hurt doing some of these activities?
That's a great question, and you know, it goes back to that risk-taking thing. I'll give you a quick story and then I'll answer the question. I remember one time when I was out in one of the schools, and you know, rock climbing walls are another great thing to have inside of a school, especially when it's really cold out or the weather's bad, it's pouring down rain, and kids love them, and you can do integrated lessons with math and reading. You can do all kinds of things with a rock climbing wall. And I remember going out and visiting one of the schools, and the principal said, well, you know, we really want to get this rock climbing wall, and we've actually raised the money, but the risk management department says that we don't have a load-bearing wall the size to make this happen. Now, this is one of the beauties of when you're a leader. I mean, there's a lot of downsides to being a leader, but once in a while you can do some really good things. And I said, well, I tell you what, you call risk management back. This is a division within our own school division that manages our risk. And I said, you tell them that I am so interested in getting this rock climbing wall up as soon as possible. And if they could let me know whatever these issues are with the load-bearing wall, if they would just call me directly, and I'll help them. Never heard anything for about 2 weeks, and then the wall was up.